안녕하세요 여러분, 전 민슬입니다. 오늘은 F-6 비자 어떻게 신청했는지 보여드리겠습니다. The F-6 visa is only available to foreigners who have married Korean nationals. If you are married to a Korean or plan on marrying a Korean, this video is for you. There are some things you need to get squared away before you can even start putting in your F-6 visa documents. First, if you are married outside of Korea, you need to register your marriage with the Korean consulate. This requires your marriage certificate from the country or state that you were married in, a copy of it translated into Korean, and your passport and your Korean spouse's passport for identification purposes. Korea prefers that you register your marriage within 90 days. But my husband and I actually waited like a year and a half and they still accepted all the paperwork. However, this can take up to 3 weeks to process, so make sure you do this first. After you've registered your marriage in Korea, the easiest documents to get your hands on will be a passport photo, your passport, a photocopy of your passport, and a photocopy of your Korean spouse's passport. These copies can be in both black and white or color. You will also need to print and fill out a couple of forms. Some of these forms will be filled out by you, and some will need to be completed by your Korean spouse. The documents you will be responsible for are your visa application form and marriage invitation and personal details form. You will also need to prove either Korean language proficiency through a TOPIK test, or your spouse must explain how they can communicate with you in your native language. Your Korean spouse will be responsible for your sponsor invitation form, sponsor's family background information form, certificate of guarantor, proof of sufficient income, and documents proving residency, like a rental contract. If your spouse does not make enough money to qualify for sponsorship, a financial supporting letter can be completed by an immediate family member, like your spouse's parents or siblings. If you have a child between you and your Korean spouse, you do not need proof of Korean language proficiency, nor proof that your spouse can speak your language. You also will not need the proof of income form, the certificate of guarantor, and you'll only need to fill out 1 page of the sponsor's family background form. In my experience, I did not need to turn in a rental contract or any documents proving that we had a place to live, but it is on the requirement list on the consulate website, so you should bring that just in case. Next, you need to do an FBI background check. You can actually apply for this online and they'll send you a confirmation email after you pay. You can choose to send your fingerprints in through the mail or electronically, but be aware that some locations, such as post offices or police stations, do not offer the electronic service, so it may be best to plan on just doing it through the mail. If you are planning on doing it through the mail, you need to print out the confirmation email that the FBI sends you and mail that alongside your fingerprint card. That way they know who you are and why they're getting these fingerprints. It took about 1 week for me to receive my results through email after mailing my fingerprints in. For an F-6 visa, you do not need your FBI background check to be apostilled. The last documents you need are easily attainable through your local consulate. You're going to need original copies of your Korean marriage certificate, your Korean spouse's birth certificate, your Korean spouse's resident registration certificate, and a family relationship certificate. The consulate will charge you a small fee to request these documents, but they'll have them available to you in about 1 week. Due to the pandemic, I also had to sign a document agreeing to quarantine upon arrival in Korea. Last but not least, you'll need to pay your visa application fee. For American citizens, it is $45, but if you live somewhere else or are of a different nationality, you may have additional fees, so it's a great idea to call your consulate and check before going down. My local consulate also only accepts cash, so you'll need to double check with your consulate on that too. Okay, I hope this was helpful. This is my personal experience applying as a US citizen from within the US. So if you live somewhere else or are of a different nationality, your requirements may be a little different. So it's a great idea to, again, call your consulate and double check before you go down to submit any of these documents. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. 감사합니다.